He has been walking since before sunrise. No shoes, no map, no water bottle, just a spear, a red robe, and 4,000 years of knowledge about this land. The African savanna in dry season is not a landscape that forgives mistakes. The sun reaches 40 degrees before noon. Water sources disappear for months. Lions move through the same corridors that cattle use. And yet the Maasai have been living here, raising families, building communities, and sustaining one of the most physically remarkable cultures on the planet for longer than most civilizations have existed. This is their world, and today we are going inside it. The Maasai are a semi-nomadic people living across the vast savannas of Kenya and Tanzania in East Africa. Their territory covers some of the most iconic landscape on the continent: the Serengeti Plains, the Maasai Mara, the land around Kilimanjaro, the same land that tourists pay thousands of dollars to visit for a week, is the land the Maasai have called home for centuries. There are approximately 2 million Maasai people today. They are organized into clans and age groups that structure every aspect of life: who makes decisions, who fights, who herds, who negotiates, who teaches. This is not a society that leaves roles ambiguous. Everyone knows where they stand. Everyone knows what is expected of them, and everyone knows what happens if they fail to deliver. The Maasai day begins before the sun. Cattle must be watered and moved to pasture before the heat makes movement difficult. Young warriors called moran are responsible for the herds. They walk with the cattle through territories that can stretch for miles, reading the land for signs of predators, reading the sky for signs of rain, reading the grass for signs of where the best grazing is today versus where it will be tomorrow. This is not simple work. It requires knowledge of animal behavior, landscape reading, weather prediction, and the physical endurance to keep moving in heat that would stop most people within an hour. The Moran do not complain about this. It is what they trained for. From childhood, Maasai boys are prepared for the life of a warrior. They learn to herd small animals first, then larger ones. They learn to read the signs that a lion has passed through an area. They learn to move silently, to wait, to observe. By the time a young man goes through the initiation ceremony that makes him a Moran, he has been preparing for years. The initiation itself is one of the most demanding rites of passage in any culture on Earth. It involves significant physical challenge and is performed without anesthetic. The young man must not show pain, must not flinch. His response in that moment determines his standing among his peers for years to come. This is not cruelty. It is preparation. In a world where lions are real, and droughts are real, and the consequences of weakness are real, the ability to manage pain and fear without losing composure is not a virtue. It is a survival skill. The Maasai diet is built on 3 things: milk, blood, and meat. This is a diet that has fueled some of the most physically impressive people ever studied by nutritional science, and it contains almost nothing that a modern Western nutritionist would recognize as a balanced meal. Milk is the daily staple. Fresh milk from cattle, drunk multiple times a day. Fermented milk, allowed to sour in a cleaned gourd, providing probiotic cultures that support gut health in ways that modern supplements attempt to replicate. The cattle that produce this milk graze freely on savanna grass. Their milk is nutritionally denser, richer in omega-3 fatty acids, and more bioavailable in its nutrients than anything produced by factory farming. Blood is consumed at specific times, not daily, but deliberately. A small incision is made in a living cow's jugular vein. Blood is collected in a gourd, sometimes mixed with milk, and consumed. The cow is then treated and heals. This practice is reserved for warriors entering intense physical periods, for women recovering from childbirth, for the sick who need maximum nutrition in minimum time. Fresh blood is extraordinarily nutrient-dense, complete protein, highly bioavailable iron, vitamin B12, electrolytes in a form that the body absorbs within minutes. Meat is ceremonial. The Maasai do not slaughter cattle casually. Cattle are wealth. They are the living savings account of a nomadic people, the measure of a family's status, the foundation of every negotiation and ceremony. You do not spend your savings on an ordinary Tuesday. Meat appears at initiations, at celebrations, at the welcoming of important guests. And when it does appear, every part of the animal is used. The organs eaten first, the marrow cracked from the bones, the fat rendered and valued. Nothing is wasted. Nothing can be wasted. The Maasai live in structures called maniatas, circular compounds of low mud and dung houses enclosed within a thorn fence. The thorn fence keeps lions out. It also keeps the cattle in at night, where they can be protected and monitored. The houses inside are small, dark, and low, built by women from a mixture of mud, grass, cow dung, and ash. They are designed for the climate thick enough to stay cool in the heat of the day, low enough to be quickly rebuilt when a community moves. Water in the savanna is the organizing principle of everything. In wet season, the Maasai spread across the landscape, following the grass as it responds to rain. In dry season, they contract, moving toward water sources, combining herds, sharing resources. The knowledge of where water can be found, where it was found last year and the year before, is carried in the community's collective memory. It is not on any map. It is in the elders. The elders are the library. Every Maasai community has a council of elders who hold authority over major decisions. They are not elected in any modern sense. They earn their position through age, experience, and demonstrated wisdom. When a dispute arises over land, over cattle, over a marriage, it goes to the elders. Their judgment is not written into law. It is respected because the community has learned over generations to trust it. This is a legal system without courtrooms, a judicial system without judges in the formal sense, a conflict resolution system that has been operating continuously for longer than most nations have existed. The traditions of the Maasai are not separate from daily life. They are daily life. The adumu, the jumping ceremony, is one of the most recognized images of Maasai culture. Young warriors compete to jump as high as possible from a standing position, accompanied by singing and chanting. This is not performance for tourists, though tourists inevitably watch. It is a competition between young men that tests explosive strength, determination, and the ability to perform under social pressure. The skills it develops are directly applicable to the skills required to defend a herd from a predator or to cover ground quickly in an emergency. Even celebration is training. The shuka, the distinctive red cloth worn by Maasai warriors, is not merely cultural identity, though it is that too. Red is visible from a distance. In a landscape where a warrior might need to signal his position, or where predators might be deterred by a visible human presence, the choice of a highly visible color has practical value. The cloth is wrapped, not sewn, allowing it to be adjusted rapidly or discarded if necessary. Everything has a reason. Every element of Maasai life, every practice that looks like tradition from the outside, has a function that makes sense in the context of the savanna. But the savanna is changing. In recent decades, The pressures on Maasai territory have intensified dramatically. National parks and wildlife conservancies have enclosed land that Maasai communities grazed for generations. Tourist infrastructure has expanded into areas that were pasture. Climate change has made rainfall patterns less predictable, extending dry seasons, making the water knowledge carried by elders less reliable as the patterns themselves shift. Young Maasai people are moving to cities, to Nairobi, to Arusha, to towns along the highway where there is work in construction, in hospitality, in the service industries that have grown up around tourism. They take their phones, their clothes change, their diet changes, and when they go home to visit, the cattle look thinner than they remember. Some come back permanently. They say the city offers money but not meaning, that there is a specific feeling they get walking back onto the Savanna, seeing the cattle, drinking fresh milk from an animal they know by sight, that no amount of urban salary replicates. Others do not come back. They build lives elsewhere. Their children speak Swahili and English, but not Ma. They know what a Maasai warrior looks like from photographs, but they have never stood in the heat and waited for a lion to move off. There is no judgment in either choice. The world changes, people change with it, or they try to hold something that matters against the current of change and see how long they can hold. What the Maasai have held for centuries is something that most of the modern world cannot name, but instinctively recognizes when it sees it. A complete life, a life in which what you eat and where it came from are the same question, in which the land you walk on and the community you belong to are the same thing, in which strength is not a gym metric but a daily practice tested against real conditions, real animals, real weather, real consequence. The Maasai warrior who walks out of camp before sunrise, who knows exactly what the grass tells him about where the cattle should go today, who carries in his body the result of a lifetime of physical preparation, who knows that his community is behind him and that he is responsible to them, is not living in the past. He is living in a present that most of us have traded away for something we cannot even name. The Savanna is still there. The cattle are still there. And so are the people who learned to survive there, not as a temporary measure, not as a stopgap until something better came along, but as a permanent answer to the question of how to live.